Good afternoon, my beloveds. It's the 4th of July. Hence my tie-dye red, white, and blue t-shirt as I celebrate this summer holiday with my family. I hope that this day has been renewing and refreshing as it has been for me. And I pray that you are all safe and healthy. This week, as I considered the gospel message from Matthew chapter 11, I was intrigued with verses 28 through 30, when Jesus said, "Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." I'll be honest, that phrase hit me hard this year in this season of Corona and all of the worry and the burden of trying to stay well and keep our loved ones healthy as well. That sentence, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light," seemed a little hard to believe, especially in this day and age when it all seems that most of us have some sort of burden to bear, some sort of trouble or problem to carry with us. This text can bring us to some assurance that we are not alone to carry the load. But the reality of living in this world is that many of us face the burden of bodies that don't do exactly what we want them to do, or are not as healthy as we would hope them to be at this time. Others of us face the prospect of living life after the death of a loved one, and the burden of coping with this world all alone can be a very large burden to bear. Still others of us have the burden of broken relationships with our children or our spouses or our family. We all know that when we are in tension with someone we care about, that burden can be extremely heavy to carry. Many of us face the burden of making choices in this world, wondering what we will do with our lives, wondering that if when we do make a decision, if it will be the right one. And in the face of an ever-increasing cost of living, most of us face day-to-day burden of simply providing for our families. And that's just the day-to-day stuff. Still others of us are battling burdens of sin or temptation, guilt or conflicting loyalties. Our spirits, our souls are burdened. This life is filled with stress, with cares, with worries, with situations that call for us to make choices that sometimes are not pleasant or easy to make. Jesus simply says, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." There have been more days than not where I have found this thought difficult to believe. There have been times when I just felt that I needed someone with whom to commiserate because it was entirely too hard to believe that Jesus possibly could help all the time or even part of the time. I've been blessed that for nearly 50 years, the person that I have turned to in those moments for sound counsel has been my godmother. But I'll be honest, those conversations have mostly not gone the way I was hoping they would play out. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my godmother, my Thelma, my heart. I miss her. She's too far away. But whenever troubles would assail throughout the time she's been in my life, she would simply remind me, "This too shall pass. This too shall pass, Heidi Renee." Now that was all well and good for her, but it drove me a little crazy. In the midst of trouble, I needed a sympathetic ear, and all I usually got was, "This too shall pass." It got to the point where I didn't want to share any fears or concerns because the standard answer always arrived. Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't good advice. It is indeed very good advice, but I didn't really want to hear it. I really just wanted someone to listen to my complaining. You know what I mean? But I have to admit that my godmother is a great woman of faith, and she is strong in adversity and humble in success. And it took a while, over many years, despite her standard admonition, I learned about the depth of her strength and courage, while also coming to understand why her reply to adversity was almost always, "This too shall pass." Along with my aging, which seems to be all too rapid, I finally came to understand that what she was saying to me was, if I was to turn my fears and sorrows over to the Lord, these things, these burdens, would pass from me. I would learn how to handle them and roll with the punches, as it were. Now, I'll be honest, these were hard lessons because, well, I do like to be in control. I want to be the master of my own destiny. I still had, well, actually, I still have lots to learn. I had to learn to let go of my fears and give them to the Lord completely and freely, not keeping any strings attached, which is a hard lesson for a stubborn, impatient person like myself to learn. Fortunately, God is patient with me, willing to wait while I learn my lesson. Now, do any of you find any of those same issues active in your life? If not, how fortunate for you, but if you do, you will understand that the most difficult lessons come the hardest. As we heard in today's gospel lection, the disciples were confronted with the same problems. Jesus' first admonition was not to be afraid, to trust. Then the gospel passage concludes with that little invitational nugget, "Come to me, all you who are burdened and carry heavy loads. Give those burdens to me. I will gladly take them from you. Now you may find rest for your souls." Jesus helps us to carry our burdens so that we can be an instrument of love to others, to help others carry their burdens as we share life together. Remember, this too shall pass. Jesus takes our heavy burdens of brokenness from us and replaces them with the burden of caring for someone out of love. There are times I wonder, is that truly a burden? But I have found that amazingly, a burden carried out of love will seem much lighter than one that is carried because of all the brokenness in the world. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Just like my godmother, this too shall pass. Jesus will take your burdens. That's good news. You no longer have to carry them all by yourself. This too shall pass. It does not mean that you no longer care. It means that the heavy pressure is lifted from you. This too shall pass. Just when you think there is no one who will listen, Jesus says, "Come to me. All who are weighed down with heavy burdens, give them to me. I can take them and help you." I have to say, that's incredibly good news for all of us burden bearers. This too shall pass. Come to Jesus. Come now, bring your burdens before him. This too shall pass, beloveds. Jesus will give you rest. I'm so thankful for remembering the lessons of my childhood. I'm so thankful that I invited Jesus into my life. Isn't it time that you do too? Amen. Amen. Peace be with you, beloveds. I'll see you very soon.